the Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation. I also take this opportunity to welcome the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, led today, as I can see in the platform here, by Deputy Minister Botes. We welcome DG Dango and your team, both the bureaucrats and the revocrats from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. We also welcome the staff that is accompanying the honorable members from the third arm of the state, which is the legislature, which is Parliament, represented through the Portfolio Committee. South Africans who may be following the proceedings of this Portfolio Committee on various platforms provided by Parliament as part of strengthening democracy, transparency, and participation, you are also welcome. Today, honorable members, mainly we are going to be dealing with one item, which is a third quarterly report on both the department and the AFR. I will now ask a member to move for the adoption of the agenda of today. Can we have a mover for adoption of the agenda, honorable members? Honorable members, can we have a mover for adoption of the agenda? Honorable Swartz. Honorable Nkosi.
Hello.
Yes, can you move for the adoption of the agenda?
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
There's somebody who is not muted. I can't see who is this person. Is a certain Patela A. Lubabalo, can you help us with Patela A? I don't know who is Patela A. Who is not muted?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, Chair. I'm attending to it, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you give us apologies, Lubabalo, if there are any?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, honorable members. Chairperson, we have 6 apologies. The first one from the minister. She's attending in cabinet. She may join the meeting a bit later. And another one from the Minister Mashego Dlamini. She's attending cabinet committee meeting. And Honorable Mbanza, Honorable Mawela, and Honorable Chedi, they are all in transit to Cape Town, Chair. And then Honorable Mulder is attending Chief Whip's forum meeting. And Honorable Mishwa is on leave, Chairperson. So those are the apologies. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lubabalo. Deputy Minister Botes, can we commence the meeting with you setting the scene for us?
Good morning, Chairperson and members of the PC. I just thought I must put my camera on.
Deputy Minister, you have now faded away.
Yes, no, thank you very much, Honorable
Welcome back.
Chairperson. Thank you very much, Slalo. I am just giving an indication, Chair, that obviously the report is front-loaded with performance information on our core function under programs 2 to 4, of course, which we will highlight the relationship between those programmatic areas and how it is linked in terms of implementation of the foreign policy reham of South Africa. We would obviously also indicate, Chairperson, in line with our presentation last week, key compliance issues under Program 1, which reflect evidently its relationship as a core support function to other program areas. The third issue, Chair, we are going to give a detailed account to the fact that for the reporting period, we have obviously, as DERCO, achieved 21 out of the 21 predetermined targets for Q3. That translates to a 100% target achievable. And we do appreciate that obviously the PC under your stewardship will look at the qualitative aspects in terms of the reporting period. As I conclude, Chairperson, we do want to make the submission that the African Renaissance Fund, ARF, remains a pivotal instrument in our repository, where we execute, in particular, solidarity on the African continent, and obviously look also in relation to aspects as it relates to the global south, because it has always been our instruction, Chair, that we are on the side of the most vulnerable, with a particular focus on Africa and the global south. At this point, Honorable Chair, I'll just hand over with your express permission to our Director General, Mr. Zane Dango, to introduce the detailed presenters as it relates to our accounting work, Compiano. Thank you very much, Lalo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. DJ Dango, just before you present, you will recall that last week there was a presentation on Q1 and Q2. So I will request that some of the obvious conventional issues, you, at least for now, stay away from them and focus on what were the objectives set, how many of them were achieved, how many were not achieved, what were the reasons, what is the plan going forward. I'm saying so because today we are going to be dealing with the budget. Members are in transit, and we have to make sure that members must begin to travel to the City Hall. So we don't want members to arrive late there. Over to you, DG.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, Deputy Minister. Thank you for that, Honorable Chair. Ms. Baloy will present the department's report, and I think she's taken to heart the guidance you've just given in terms of trying to stick to the essential information. I know it was a long presentation that we sent forward, but we'll try and cut that down significantly to save time for members. So with your permission, if I can give over to Ms. Baloy to do the presentation.
Thank you, DG. Good morning to the Honorable Chair, Honorable members. Good morning to our Deputy Ministers and also the colleagues. Our presentation will start from program 2 to 4 with regard to the performance information, and then we'll go to our finance information, and then we will try to detail some of the information with regard to property management. As the Deputy Minister had already alluded to, we have already achieved 100% of the 21 targets that we had set out in Q3. I will begin with program 2, as already said, which has got 4 targets. We will report on political reports on our trade and investment, and then move on to tourism reports, and then the regional integration thereof. In terms of Africa, if I have to start with Africa, in terms of our political report here, the structural bilateral mechanism, including our high-level visit and also various political engagement took place in this region in order to be able to improve our economic development, including also of the continent itself. And during this reporting period, we have crisscrossed the continent itself, and some of the political engagement that we undertook took place in Burundi, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Western Sahara, Liberia, and the rest of the others that are on the report. I will then move to Europe and Americas in terms of political relations. Also here in this quarter reporting, what we had undertook included the moving from countries from the USA, Canada, Guyana, Belgium, Madrid, Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, Ukraine, Havana, Madrid, Rome, and Ankara, and so forth. And then in terms of Asia and Middle East, obviously, as I'm reporting with regard to our structured bilateral mechanism, our high-level visit, and also our political engagement, as I've already alluded to. For this region, what we managed to touch took place in terms of Singapore, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, People's Republic of China, Australia, Kuwait, Qatar, Palestine. You will bear in mind, honorable members, that as I'm reading the countries that we managed to crisscross as we are doing our work is only with regard to the political relations that I've spoken to. Then I'll move to the second target that we have, which includes, which speaks to trade and investment. And then in terms of this, I will be reporting on Africa. The economic activities undertook were taken in order to be able to further strengthen our economy, which obviously involves the hosting of business seminars, our networking sessions, engagement with high-level investors, our importers, and so forth. What we managed to move from all the countries within Africa, the activities took place in the following areas, which is your Burkina Faso, your Liberia, your Guinea-Bissau, Mali, moving to SADC, your Cote d'Ivoire, your Sao Tome, Principe, and Mauritius. In terms of Southern Africa, the implementation of a bilateral and trade cooperation agreement is very critical and remains our building blocks in terms of our regional trade protocols. So you will also note that one. Then I'll move to the trade investment in terms of Americas and Europe. And then in terms of this, we continue also to utilize this in order for us to be able to strengthen our economy through the hosting of our business seminars, networking sessions, engagement with high-level investors, importers, and this is mainly for us to be able to identify possible mutual investment opportunities between all the countries that I will be mentioning. They include your Spain, your UK, your The Hague, Lithuania, and so forth, and other high-level investment discussions that actually took place during bilaterals and official visit included or focused on the following sectors that I will mention a few. It was your energy, automotive, your agriculture, smart technology, food and beverage, wine, tourism, investment, water management and sanitation, agro-processing, textile, education, technology, climate, science and technology, infrastructure, etc. Then moving to Asia and Middle East, also in that note, taking into consideration that we're speaking about trade and investment. Here, most of the high-level investment discussions during our bilaterals focused on energy, on automotive, on agriculture, nanotechnology, food and beverages, wine, tourism, investment, water management and sanitation, agro-processing, textile, education, technology, climate, science and technology, also infrastructure, etc. And during this quarter, the work was also done in Taipei, Vietnam, Thailand, Palestine, Qatar, Jordan, Syria, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. We'll also note that in commemoration of IORA 25th anniversary, the conference provided an opportunity to be able to exchange views on the existing and potential prospects and opportunities for enhanced participation of Iran in the coming year as the chair. Then I'll move to the last one, which is the third one, which is tourism. And I'll start with the Africa as a region. Here, tourism, when we speak of tourism initiatives, we mainly focus on participation in the virtual tourism promotions activities by the various missions that we'll be talking about, the innovative ways of promoting South Africa as a preferred destination, tourism destination, obviously utilizing our tourist attractions, including art, culture, etc., and so forth, and also just reassuring our travel industries that South Africa is a safe country, and it takes all the health precautions into consideration in every way. And also the last one include issues of just engaging our international airline regarding the possibilities of just increasing the flights from SA and also or to SA and so forth. And in Africa, the various countries and activities that we focused on in terms of tourism moved from your Cote d'Ivoire, your Eswatini, Lesotho, Botswana, DRC, Zambia, Liberia, Kenya, Eritrea, Mauritius, and etc. Then moving to Asia and Middle East, also taking note that when we talk about tourism, we're talking about the various activities that I've spoken to. Here, in terms of Asia and Middle East, in terms of Asia and Middle East, here we're talking of areas such as your Abu Dhabi, your Saudi Arabia, your China, your Australia, your Qatar, and so forth in terms of tourism. Then I will move to I'll then move to international relations. One assessment report of South Africa's contribution in terms of our peace, security, socio-economic development, good governance and democracy, and also the implementation of the RISDP was also submitted through to us. You should also take note that when we talk about this, we also note that SADC still remains a foreign policy priority for our country. And our efforts obviously is to achieve regional development and integration within this region as a whole. Then I'll move to program 3, which I will report on only 3 targets in this reporting period: global governance, continental cooperation, and South-South relations. In terms of systems of global governance, I will concentrate on peace, security, human rights, and also the economic social development. With regard to the systems of global governance, various meetings and committees took place during UNGA in pursuit of our peace and security. They are outlined in the report, and the members will be able to go through. And then also to note that our G20 Leaders Summit also took place during this reporting period on the 15th and 16th of November. And the leaders here committed to take urgent actions to save lives and prevent hunger and malnutrition, particularly to address the vulnerabilities of the developing countries. And then also the last one is that COP27 was also held in Egypt from the 7th to the 20th, and the report is alluding to that with various information there. And then with regard to the second one, which is human rights, during this period, South Africa used the Human Rights Commission platform to participate in discussions, in debates, deliberations in order to contribute positively to the development of norms and standards in the field of human rights. And then in terms of the last one, which speaks to our economic and social development, South Africa participated and contributed in the following key areas or events: the 215th sessions on UNESCO, both from the 5th to the 19th of November 2022, and then the G20, which I've just spoken to, and then COP, which I've just spoken to, and then the 77th session of UNGA, and also the access to COVID-19 tools, accelerator independent evaluations reference team meeting also took place during this time. And then in terms of report on the implementation of South Africa's international reporting obligation, this report was also submitted to us. And then in terms of the position, 61 still remains within the multilateral bodies that we've reported to even in the last quarter. And then in terms of continental cooperation, reports on South Africa's obligations to SADC and AU fulfilled 100% of South Africa's commitment in efforts in order to resolve continental conflicts, and they were all honored from them. I will not go through all this, just to note that for the MCO, the following were considered, which include the proposed amendments of SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections. And also South Africa was part of SADC observer mission to the Kingdom of Lesotho National Assembly elections, and the elections were contested by 52 of the 65 registered political parties. The IEC declared that the Revolution Prosperity funded in March 2022 received the majority of the votes, winning 56% of 80 contested constituency seats. And then I will then move to North-South cooperation. Also here, there was no target. If I can just move to South-South, a number of various meetings here and activities were undertaken in terms of South-South cooperation. And one report of the outcome of South-South engagement reflecting South Africa's participation and interest, including that of the African agenda, was submitted, which include your name, your G77, and the third South Summit that took place in Kampala. Then I'll move to Program 4, where the two targets in terms of public diplomacy, state protocol, and consular, we reported 2 and 100% was achieved, as you can see. The first one, in terms of the key messages, the 15th were distributed, and then public participation, 3 were held by our political principals, and then 3 opinion pieces were written in terms of protocol and consular services. 114 of the protocol in terms of the state visit took place here were reported. And then 183 consular services were rendered during this reporting period, and we were able to legalize 11,382 documents. Moving to Program 1, which is the last one, out of the 6 targets, all of them were achieved. It's 100%. In terms of the progress, in terms of the implementation of the digital strategy, progress report was given in terms of all the achievements that were supposed to have been. And then in terms of the audit action plan, this was also, progress report was also submitted during the reporting period. And then the following training in terms of generic skills took place, as you can see, starting from strategic leadership and ending with supply chain management workshop. And then all the rest were achieved in terms of women empowerment and also youth empowerment. The targets were all achieved as indicated. The 69 legal advice and services on international law were rendered, and then 59 in terms of domestic law were also rendered by Program 1 in terms of this. Then moving to our financial report, you will realize that in terms of this, we are standing at 70% expenditure on both programs and also administration. And the actual expenditure in the third quarter stands at 1.5 billion as compared to 1.4 billion, which represent a variation of 4% higher than what we had actually projected for. Starting with Program 1, you will realize that in terms of here, there was actually a low spending, but it's mainly due to the issues of delivery of laptops, which will be able to just cover in terms of quarter 4. And then 367 million was actually spent from in terms of 413.9, which was supposed to be. Then moving to Program 2, here you will see that there's high expenditure. This is due to cost of living salary adjustment that was made and implemented in November and December during this reporting period. And then for Program 3, there's a low spending. It's mainly based on the high vacancy rate that we have at SMS level that we always report on. And then for Program 4 here, there's a high spending, and this is due to payment of the other invoices. If you can just pick one, where we had to pay for the repatriation of South Africans that were in Vulwane in 2022, immediately after approval by Treasury. And then in terms of Program 5 here, there's high expenditure. This is mainly due to the payment of some outstanding payments that we made for our contribution to the AU based on the financial year. Then I will move to the properties and facilitation. We felt as a department that maybe we need to just stretch and give more details on this, as we have realized that most questions will come from properties and investment and facilities when we report on our quarterly report. In terms of the new project, you will realize that we've got about 3 construction projects which we have prioritized, and they are in New Delhi, Luanda, and Gaborone here. And all of them, we have appointed professional team to support in terms of planning, renovation, and construction in all these 3 countries that I've spoken to. And then I'll move to renovations and refurbishment of project. There are about 5 projects that we are aiming to do, and they are in progress, and those are in mission in Mbambane, which is in Swaziland, Copenhagen, and then Vienna, Rome, and also in Namibia. And you will see that the procurement planning for the renovation work has been completed, and the service provider has been appointed for Namibia, and also for Mbambane, the evaluation committee has actually said and approved. And then I'll move to the maintenance and condition assessment of projects. Here there are 78 maintenance and condition assessment projects that are already at implementation stage at this current financial year, and 20 maintenance and 1 condition assessment report project that has been completed completed at the end of this third quarter that we are reporting on. And then 18 service providers has been appointed for the maintenance project to be finalized in the current financial year. And further 23 projects are in the evaluation and approval stage as we are reporting in this particular moment. To address also the maintenance and backlog condition assessment has been commissioned for 17 properties, which obviously move from Yolanda, New Madrid, and so forth. And then this condition assessment will inform the prioritization of the project in terms of renovation and maintenance, as we've already alluded in terms of the missions that we'll be targeting. And then moving to the disposal project, we are disposing 8 properties in Namibia, and they've been advertised, and the bids were received as of the 7th of December 2022. The bids are ready to be presented to the bid adjudication committee, and appointment of conveyancer is in progress in terms of Namibia. The disposal of properties in Fangal, in Blantyre were advertised in January 2023, where the closing date is the 10th and 27th of February 2023. So these bids are then ready to be presented to the bid evaluation committee, as I already mentioned that it was advertised in January. Then the property evaluation report for Bonn and Banjul, Paris, Milan, and Zurich have been tabled and approved for disposal committee to be advertised. Thank you, DG and Honorable Chairperson. This is the end of the presentation. I hope I've covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Over to you.
Yes, DG. We can proceed to ARF.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The ARF report will be presented by Mr. Basatere. Over to you, Mr. Basatere.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson, Deputy Minister, DG, and senior member of the committee. I will quickly zoom straight to the performance of the ARF. That's on slide 4. Under the reporting period, the fund has a total performance area of 7, and of the 7 total performance area, 5 targets were achieved as planned, and that's 71% achievement. One area was partially achieved, and there was also one non-achievement area. Moving on to the performance per program. Under program 5, we have a total of 5 areas of performance, and out of 5, only 1 was partially achieved. And then moving on to the next program is program on democracy and good governance. We had 1 target, and the target was not achieved. And the reason for non-achievement was basically the fact that we did not receive any request for technical assistance to support elections, because these are responsive targets. And then moving on to next program, which is support to socioeconomic development and integration. We did not have a target there. However, we received a request to fund a project for agricultural development support in Cabo Delgado, farming recovery plan in Mozambique, of which it has been funded. Then moving on to financial reporting. Under the period reporting at the end of this quarter, that's as at 31/12/2022, the appropriated fund for the ARF was sitting at 49 million. 0.6, and we had investment income of 32 million. We had assistant 1 project, which is Cabo Delgado, which I have just mentioned, at the tune of around 34 million. And We also have surplus of 49 million, and cash equivalent, we had 691 million. We have received the Cuba loan. The Cuba, it's paying the loan as agreed, and they have even paid the payment for December. We had 62.8 million, and our total liabilities are sitting at 357 million.6. Basically, we had one project which we have indicated that we have funded at the tune of 34 million, and the project is under implementation currently. We have delivered inputs in December 2022, and it was meant for planting season for 2023. As I've indicated earlier on, the Cuba is repaying the loan as agreed biannually. That's in June and December. We have also received the December payment as well. I think without further waste of time, I think this brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. That's the two presentations. Over to you.
Thanks, DG Dango. If there's nothing to strengthen from your side, honorable members, there's the report. If there are questions or comments, it's an opportunity now to do so. Honorable Darfma.
Chair,
followed by Alistair.
Thank you very much. Chair, thank you very much. Mine is just to try to clarify. Last week we had the Deputy Minister defiantly tell us, against the backdrop of the court telling us that there will be no more donations to Cuba. She was telling us that there will be. Now it's clear that we've paid the loan to Cuba and that we're getting paid back for the loan to Cuba. I'm trying to make heads and tails of this. Does this mean that Cuba lends money from us and then still needs aid from us and then still pays us back with interest? Because that's quite a confusing story then. You know, that's one that tends to lead to what we call the creative accounting that we've come to expect from DIRCO in the past. You know, it's one that doesn't comfort one when we talk about trying to fix what is broken with our finance department in DIRCO. So if I can just have clarity around that, I would appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Honorable Darkman. Austembi, you are the last.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to check with regards to the renovations and the disposals of property. If you look at the list of the renovations, you'll see that in Africa, we only have about one or two. So I want to check what inspired this list of renovations. And also, if you check out of the 17 that is planned for the future, we also have about, if not two of those being in Africa, and we are prioritizing property that is in Europe and in the America. So thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Austembi. From my side, DG and Deputy Minister, if we can just get an assurance that this place is where we are disposing of properties. In future, we will not need to either rent space for use as a department. Thank you. Over to you, DG, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Okay.
Honorable Chair, just maybe one comment from my side, if I may.
Proceed, Deputy Minister. Actually, what we can do, DG,
Yes,
maybe
I
you
think,
should. Then the Deputy Minister should respond and do the closing remarks. DG.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll just deal with the question from Honorable Bergman. So, and my colleague from IR can jump in if I've missed out on anything. The humanitarian aid to Cuba, the court case still stands, and in terms of further humanitarian aid to Cuba, obviously we will await until the outcomes of the court decision. With respect to the loan to Cuba, that predates the humanitarian decision to provide humanitarian aid. And essentially what we're reporting on here is the fact that that loan is being honored currently. And the loan is essentially something that the ARF and the DTIC work on together. And it's a contract that emanates from that. I'll just give over to Mr. Basseterre to add on a few words if he needs to.
Thank you, DG. Perhaps just to add, yes, the loan is being paid and the Cubans are honoring the agreement as it is tabled. And perhaps just to give clarity, they are paying the loan with the interest of 4% as per the agreement. Thank you, DG.
Thanks. Then in terms of the question from Honorable Msani, on the renovations, I will ask Ms. Shabalala just to give a brief response to that. Ms. Shabalala, over to you.
Thank you, DG. The question from Honorable Msani regarding the projects that have been identified. The projects are informed by what is coming from missions, actually, the reports that are coming from missions to indicate the condition of the properties, and also in cases where the mission is unable to tell us what is exactly the problem, it's then that we initiate the project of condition assessment. The 17 projects that have been identified for condition assessment. It's not as if we're only prioritizing properties in Europe and the Americas. We are also prioritizing Africa, but it's information that we are getting from missions on the condition of the properties, state-owned properties in those areas. Thank you.
Ms. Shabalala, could you also then deal with the rationale of the disposing of properties? It's a question from the chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the properties that have been identified for disposal is properties that an assessment has been done, and they were identified as being superfluous. They will never, ever be required, just like the properties in Bonn. The capital in Bonn moved, and there is no indication that we will ever move back to Bonn. I don't know if that's sufficient, DG.
I think it covers the question partially, but it's also indicative of the fact it's not just superfluous properties, but it's also properties that is in total disrepair and is actually a drain on our finances rather than being an asset that we could use productively. Yes. Thank you, Chair. I think that covers the 3 questions that were posed. Chair, over to you.
Chair.
Deputy Minister, but yes, Austin.
I think before the Deputy Minister comes, can I just make a follow-up? The answer I'm receiving is that this is information that comes from the missions. So it means that all the Africa missions that we visited last year virtually, they've not reported to the headquarters in order for them to be prioritized for renovations or for disposal. Does it mean that then that African missions do not send reports on the state of how they are maybe deliberated, or does it mean that they don't report at all regarding to their infrastructure to the HQ? Thanks, Chair.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Yes, Chairperson, they do report, Honorable Member. The reports that we get is that the mission with the maintenance, day-to-day maintenance budget that they are allocated to, a mission will then indicate that they are able to attend to whatever maintenance that is required. The ones where we have initiated projects, it's when the mission has clearly indicated that the state of the building is not in an acceptable condition. Yeah.
Deputy Minister Botas.
Yes, no, thank you very much, Chair. My contribution is just, obviously, the unfortunate, statement that Honorable Bergman have made, that, that we could be seen to be engaging in creative accounting. And I obviously want to demystify that completely, Chairperson, because creative accounting is an accounting term that presupposes misleading and false information. And that would obviously make up subject to, running DERCO at the accounting level and engaging in fraudulent activities. And I think at no stage should we unnecessarily cast aspersion on the integrity of our accounting officer and our foreign services personnel. I think we have given an indication that we engage in the economic assistance package with Cuba that is above board, and that is in terms of Public Finance Management Act and the concurrent principles thereof. So that is the only issue that I wanted to raise, Honorable Chairperson, and just make a further commitment that will continue to deepen issues about, compliance with the PFMA, as evidently indicated in the improved audit outcomes that DERCO have received the last year under.
It looks like we have lost the Deputy Minister, but he was basically at the end of assuring the committee that everything possible will be done at all times to adhere to the PFMA. So we have heard that part. Deputy Minister, are you back?
I conclude the Chair. Yes, Chair, I think you have summarized appropriately, Slalo.
Yes, thanks for that assurance. I want to thank the department for consistently staying on the path of accounting to the portfolio committee as and when we request them to do so. The honorable members for the participation in the portfolio committee today, the staff of both the department and the portfolio committee for the successful meeting today, the South Africans who may have joined us in the process of processing the report of both the department and ARF for Q3. Honorable members, I wish you all the luck this afternoon in the budget at 2 o'clock. The meeting is officially closed.